All right, welcome to this week's episode of Coleman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. If you are a new listener to the show, welcome aboard. If you're a long-time listener, then welcome back. I have in front of me here Kara O Donnell. She is a nutritional therapist. Okay, she's going to introduce herself. She's going to give us the elevator pitch of a small bit about her background. So, Kara, welcome to the show. This is our second time on the Coleman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. Welcome back.
Hello, thanks so much for having me. I'm a nutritional therapist working in Middleton under East Cork Nutrition. I'm at that now 4 years maybe, where I see clients one-to-one and I do courses and workshops and corporate stuff like company talks and things like that. And yeah, it's just brilliant. Love what I do and helping people to live a healthier lifestyle and just really in a sustainable way where you have to really focus in on that individual approach, what's going on for that person, their lifestyle and how it can fit in for them. So, yeah.
You said you have a course that you do currently online. I suppose just expand a small bit on that and what that goes into and what you break it down into.
I'm doing that now for a long time and it always goes very well. It's a 4-week nutrition course where it's just an hour a week for over a month. And in the first week, we cover kind of the basics like food groups and nutrients and things like that, which you'd be amazed. People really a lot of people lack that information, which is really key to deciding what to put on your plate and how to put them together. And then in the second week, we look at blood sugar balance, which is a serious issue for people. That's like nearly always the first thing I do with clients in the first visit. And it's really fundamental for good health to have a balanced blood sugar. Obviously linked to like diabetes and
totally and
now Alzheimer's even.
I suppose it's just worth winding back there a small bit. Kara's actually just come over and we've had a little bit of a meal there. We can discuss even what foods we had and in it and I suppose the nutrition value of those foods. So if you want to tell the listeners what we had and firstly what you thought of it, rate out of 10.
Oh my god, so nice. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, get in. That's the first one. We're going to do more of these. It's going to be more cooking with Coleman. Come on, stay tuned for that. What was it? 10 out of 10? Can't remember.
We said olive oil and then some sort of spices. We added a bit of peanut, ryu. But yeah, so it's that mix of like low GI carbs, which is all your veg, and then the tempeh, which is the tempeh and the beans, and that would be like good mix of protein and carbs, and then more protein in the peanuts and that. And then your good fats in your olive oil. And what else was in there? Anyway, this is it.
Squash.
Butternut squash. So like really nice low GI carbs with the protein source. And that's the key really to balancing your blood sugar, is like avoiding those blood sugar spikes.
Why is it important to balance your blood sugar level? Just for the listeners, why is that so important? Just to break that down for the
because I suppose like blood sugar, you see, you need to come to my course. I can't be giving this away. Blood sugar, what you're talking about is when you eat carbohydrates, it's turned into glucose in your blood, right? So like everything in the body wants to be in this like healthy range, I suppose. So when you eat, depending on the type and quantity of the carbs, it has an effect on your blood sugar. So where we want to be is on this nice steady kind of stream of blood, like into our blood sugar. So a nice steady stream of energy if you want, because that's where we get our energy mainly from our carbs. So you want a nice steady stream of energy over the day, just so you get up and have something healthy in the morning, then you get like a nice release into your blood sugar to give you enough energy from your healthy choices, and you don't get too much of a spike, and then you suddenly kind of start to feel hungry again for the next meal, and the same again, and it's nice and steady and keeps you going well. But in reality, where like I'd say 90% of people are, is they get up and they make the wrong choice, they instantly are put up on a blood sugar spike, and then you're outside of this healthy range that the body wants it in. So there's going to be some sort of reaction to that then in the body. So the reaction to that is that insulin is released because the body wants to get the blood sugar back down into a healthy range. But what happens is kind of a corresponding low, and this is all now really put very simply or whatever, but you get a corresponding low, which people might feel as like feeling shaky or irritable, when they're hungry after leaving it go too long, or maybe even emotional kind of things like, feeling anxious or teary or something can be for some people, or headaches or 3 o'clock slump, they'd all be signs of like a blood sugar dip. But what's actually been happening in the body at that point then is adrenaline and cortisol are being released, because the body's like telling you the blood sugar is too low, you need to go and get something that's going to bring it back up. So what you do, sure, head off and look for like chocolate or coffee or, you know, something that's going to pick you up quickly. But literally, like, there's something in the body telling you to do that, you know. It's not like I've got such a bad habit, I keep going looking for chocolate at 3 o'clock. It's like there's stress hormones being released and it's telling you to do that. But sure, when you make that bad choice, then you're left back up on another spike. So it's referred to as the blood sugar roller coaster.
What goes
It's
up
like
must come down.
and down, up and down all day. But if you think, like, you might get away with that, you know, like for a few days or a few weeks or whatever, but people are doing this like for months and years, like for their whole life. And what happens is you get to the stage where that insulin, like, first of all, there's a major hormone involvement, like between insulin, cortisol, adrenaline, and that. So it totally messes with anything hormonal in the body, you know, depending on the individual, like what way it would present itself. But like PCOS is linked to imbalanced blood sugar, or like maybe sleep issues, or you know, there's so much involved in it from a hormonal perspective. It's really worth trying to get balanced. But yeah, so like this insulin release particularly, like, we're not really designed to be doing that like 4 or 5 times a day. You know, if you think back to like caveman times, there would never rarely have been a time when they would have got a blood sugar spike unless they found a bee's thing full of honey or something.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So we're not like really designed for that level of insulin release over, you know, consistently. So what that leads to is what's called insulin resistance, where you can't really just do it anymore. And insulin resistance really is like the first stage of diabetes, or before pre-diabetes, you know. But like in America, you might be, I think in Ireland probably still, you wouldn't actually be told like that you're insulin resistant. You might just be told you're pre-diabetic or something. But like the reality is, if you're told you're pre-diabetic, like you can reverse it so easily with the right advice.
Between nutrition and training. Like,
Yeah.
training is one thing that actually can improve your insulin sensitivity, which is great.
Fasting and stuff. There's loads of ways you can do it. But,
would you recommend intermittent fasting to people that you mentor or coach or train on a regular basis, or is that a type of style of dieting that you do yourself, or recommend?
It really depends on the individual and specifically what they've going on with their blood sugar. But I would always kind of say it's good practice to have like 12 hours between the last thing you eat at night and first thing you eat the next morning. And then depending on the person, if they're kind of wanting to speed up weight loss or something like that, you can go a bit longer, but like it's different for men and women. If someone's really struggling with their blood sugar, I'd be more kind of towards having just 3 square meals rather than like lots of snacking during the day. But then if I'm dealing with someone who's like really in trouble with their blood sugar, like they might have to do some healthy snacking to like initially, you know, but like the long-term goal then would be to head towards 3 main meals. And then they could do, like, we talk about what suits them, you know, what's possible for their lifestyle. Maybe they work some days, maybe they don't, or whatever. So they might be doing like 12-hour gap 3 days or 4 days, and then 3 days they might do like 14 hours or 16 hours or something, you know. But that's the benefit, I suppose, of the way my practice or whatever is set up, is like I have like an hour and a half or an hour to an hour and a half talking to people for the first time, you know, with all their information already beforehand. So it's really sitting down and getting into the nitty gritty of like their lifestyle and what will suit them.
Do you have issues with a lot of people with irritable bowel syndrome or any leaky guts that you
Yeah, loads of digestive issues. And some people might even come in and it wouldn't be like, more so now I'm getting people for weight loss, I suppose, after lockdown. Where I wasn't so much before. But you could have people coming in saying, oh, I just want to lose weight. And then it's kind of a total, by the way, I have all these digestive issues, you know. Digestion's a weird one, because it's like, you know, whatever you have going on, you consider normal, because like we don't talk about how's your going to the loo, or how's your like stomach today or whatever. And I know myself, even like I had IBS for a while years ago, and I went to the doctor after ages and said some stuff, and he was like, about digestive issues, and he was kind of looking through my records all bewildered, going, you've never said any of this before, you know. But it was just like stuff that you just live with or get on with or whatever. So some people, I suppose, don't, that's be part of week 1 of the course, really, or yeah, like the third week is gut health. So we really get into all about digestion, how important it is to have a really good digestion, because you can be eating all the healthy food in the world and have a bad digestion, not be getting the benefit of it.
Yeah, and even I just love what we've broken it down into, the likes of the foods that we've had, like improving your gut health. How can we improve it? Like 3 simple ways that you would recommend to people to improve their gut health, because it can improve your immune system. It can increase the absorption of fats, any vitamins, in fact, breaking down those carbohydrates, undigestible, increasing your energy levels, and improving your mood with 90% of the serotonin being produced in your gut. If you want to be happier, improve your diet, please.
I know. So like, there's so much in it. And I suppose if you think about it, like there's your digestion, the actual process of it.
Where does it start?
Yeah, like, chewing is a huge part, but it starts before that. So
and what do we do even before lunch today with our utensils? This is a tip. Write this down.
This was your idea now, I'm not getting the blame for this, with a small spoon to slow us down. But it is, and stop to put the spoon down and chat it in between, which is really good, because like it really does slow you down. But yeah, I suppose people don't give, when I put up the slide about digestion, it's like something out of secondary school or something, it's really basic, but it's like showing that chewing is so massive. Like we should be chewing each bite 20 to 30 times. You can imagine how many people have the time to do that, so just explaining that, like when you chew, it's a part of our digestion that we have responsibility for, are in control of. But in that chewing, like there's enzymes being released, just explaining the purpose of it, like there's enzymes being released. I always just dummy it right down to like baby talk, but like I'd be saying this even to my kids. So when you chew, the enzymes are released, and that is actually sending messages down to your stomach to say, hey lads, there's food on the way, you need to get ready down there for it. So like start releasing stomach acid and get the next set of enzymes ready and all that to break down the food. But so you can imagine you like wolf down your roll while you're driving along in a stress state, worse again. So like when you're eating in fight or flight mode as well, like all the blood flow and everything, energy is going to be going to only essential functions in the body for like emergency state. So you want to be eating more in rest and digest, like sitting at a table, even take a few deep breaths or chatting to someone, or like whatever, because then that's when everything, like the blood flow and that, starts going back to what you need to use, so aka your digestion. So it's very important to eat in a relaxed state. But what was I saying about that?
It's like the slowing down your digestion.
Yeah, so basically you can imagine if you don't chew your food enough and that enzyme release and that isn't there, like the food is being plonked down into the stomach when it literally isn't ready to deal with it. So if someone likened it one day to like a big rubbish bin, which is a bit gross, but it's like the food sitting there, the stomach isn't kind of able to deal with it efficiently or in the right like time frame, or not enough stomach acid or something like that.
And it takes longer to break down, and that's what we cause bloating with a lot of people,
totally.
which is so common with people I train and people.
But sure, like when it's sitting there like that, then fermenting, if you want, like it's going to be totally having an effect on like your gut lining, the balance of gut bacteria, everything. And again, like you might get away with that in the short term here or there, but if people are just wolfing down their meals 3 times a day for years, it's like everyone like nearly that comes like, oh yeah, I'm suffering with this, that, or the other, and I'm like, oh, do you chew your food well? God, no, desperate fast eater, and I'm drinking gallons of water when I'm eating, major no, because if you're like they would have always said anyway, don't drink liquids when you're eating, because it kind of flushes through the, not getting the benefit of the nutrients or whatever. But more than that, what I see is like people are sitting with a fork in one hand, pint of water in the other, and it's like, sure, if you don't want to, but if you're not chewing your food enough, like what's an easy way to get it down? Wash it down with water. But so if you stop the water, you'd see how much you need to chew, like to really break down food. But yeah, like chewing is a major part of the digestion, but it starts even before that. Like, and this is kind of a good point in that cephalic digestion is when you just start thinking about food, or say when you're cooking the food now and you're getting the smells of it and all that, like there's digestive juices and enzymes and stuff are getting ready already. But that's why like the actual ritual around cooking is so important. You're like thinking, what will I have now, and preparing it and smelling it and all that going on.
A lot of people have lost that.
Oh, totally, because sure,
takeaway,
like,
send it in,
or
Deliveroo.
I'm on the road driving around, or grab a roll, or and get a takeaway tonight and have a bowl of cornflakes for my breakfast. Sure, there's none of that. Like, so it's just really interesting, I suppose. There's so much more to food. The social, emotional, like aspect of it, as in these traditions that would have always been there, but you can see why they're so important when you think of it like that in different ways. But so yeah, like if you had all the time to prepare a really nice meal and we're getting all those smells and enjoyment out of it, you'd have all that level of digestion going on already. Then you sit down and eat like with a small spoon, chatting to someone, but really slowly and in that social context, because that is calming down your nervous system when you're chatting to someone and you feel relaxed, But so that whole picture leads to like a much better digestion.
But even to tell people how easy it can be, how long did that meal take? There's no gun to our head right now.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. And we pushed it out to 12 just in case people don't believe us.
Yeah, we're probably longer eating it, weren't we?
And you want to be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, you want to be. That's the key to it. That's a good way to put it. You don't want to be longer eating it than baking it. Definitely.
This is the first time it's ever been mentioned, and we're going to write that down. It's going to be in the show notes, might even be the headline. It should be taking you longer to eat it than it does cook it. And that's important.
Yeah, like I was saying, like digestion isn't something we ever talk about. It's so important, like that your digestion is working properly, and like no one wants to talk about going to the loo or anything, but like I have to with my clients talk about that sort of stuff, and it's a good thing to have a conversation, whether it's with your doctor or someone like me or just family member or something. But like everyone should be going to the loo like at least once a day, and if you're dealing with like major constipation or diarrhea or something like that, is a big problem in terms of what's going on in your body. And if you think like high cholesterol, one of the factors involved in that for some people might be like that they're constipated like all the time, because you're not actually like getting all that stuff out of your body then, like excess cholesterol or used up hormones or whatever. But someone like, you'd be amazed. I could have a client who they've just been constipated like for 20 years, go like once every 4 days, and they're like, Asher, it's fine. Oh my God, so bad, But then such simple things can help in a scenario like that, like have more veg, have more water, up your fiber, like, but it takes talking to the person and figuring out what's going on with them, because it might be thyroid function or stress or something involved as well. But cheapers, yeah, this was a big question. Then if you think of gut health, then in the more like microbiome side of things, about your bacteria balance, and you said the state of your like gut lining, leaky gut and that.
Because bloating isn't normal. For those people, it actually should be. Yeah. It isn't a thing that should be normal. People say, I'm extremely bloated. Then that's not normal. It's due down to either a couple of different things linking to your gut. Could be excess amount of stress. Could be most definitely what you're consuming on a regular basis. And slowing down and having a chat with someone who can help you and point you in the right direction.
Yeah. It's like cheapers. Just, I'd be all for trying different therapies, especially when I started working at this in Middleton. I went around going to like acupuncture and this any kind of health therapist around, because I thought it'd be handy for me to refer clients to them, if they wanted to go or whatever. But oh my God, I gained so much from it. Like you'll always learn something different about your body. I'm like, it's your body. Like it's literally like what you're living in. You know what I mean? Like, so you should know about it. And certainly I'd always say to people, if you're ever diagnosed with anything or you have any kind of condition going on, like read up on it, like look up.
Do your own research, so important.
Like, there's so much natural alternatives now to medications, to everything. So much ways your diet can help, and de-stressing and things like that. But it's just natural,
totally. What natural remedies do you recommend, or do you use yourself, I suppose, towards healing either your gut or improving on your health?
Oh, Jesus, it varies a lot. Like you said, what would be good for gut health anyway a minute ago? Like, so
do you use like a bone broth, or I made a bone broth with the likes of nettles, which are high in vitamin C, which a lot of people think stinging nettles is something that's grown wild. It's I suppose it's a weed, but the definition of weed, it's a plant in the wrong place. It's onto a horticulturist here. So the fact is that they're high in not only nitrogen, if you want to use it as a fertilizer, but also vitamin C, and vitamin C is a natural antihistamine. So any of you guys suffering with the likes of hay fever, definitely try out those nettles. Nettle soup is practically rare on the stuff.
I always say to people that bone broth or chicken stock or whatever is like liquid gold for the gut, because it's just packed full of amino acids like glutamine, glucosamine, things like that, all the collagen, everything you can imagine that comes out of the bones and the skin. Like it's just going to be really beneficial for healing up a kind of damaged gut lining.
And collagen being in most skin creams that women and some men.
God, I know it's like a serious buzzword at the moment. But yeah, like, so it's great if you can get it from natural sources. Like I was saying to you a while ago, like short chain fatty acids from the likes of like butter or whole cow's milk, or if someone has a problem with dairy. You could do clarified butter that's called ghee, or also like coconut oil. You know, these kind of fats have short chain fatty acids that are amazing for like helping to like benefit the gut lining and even kind of help your gut bacteria to proliferate. But then just veg, like fiber is the key to good gut health, you know, because those gut bacteria feed on that fiber. So fiber meaning like what you get from your fruit and veg, but the variety of that then is what's key. So you want as many different types as you can. So that's like your lunch that you made amazing, like 8 or 10 even different plant foods, you know. But I'd always say, I remember going to a conference and this like top US doctor consultant was saying that he literally tells his patients, go home and chop up like a bucket of mixed veg and have it in the fridge. And then every morning you just get like 2 handfuls of that, mix it with water into the blender, drink it down. And they come back and they were like, oh, doc, it tastes horrible, you know. And he's like, so just drink it, like literally like medicine, you know. But so I'd always say to people like smoothie and soup, they're great in that it's like all that fruit and veg in more veg always than fruit though in a smoothie, but that easily digestible form, you know, that you can be getting veg in that way, fiber in that way, especially if someone's struggling with digestion, you know, because it's broken down for them already. But whatever amount of variety, like 30 to 40 veg over a month is kind of what you're aiming for. And it sounds like loads, but you easily get 10 veg in a day. You get 3 veg at every meal, or like 8 veg in your lunch, like there, sure, like it's easy to do it.
Yeah.
Short chain fatty acids, veg, and like fermented foods, you know, kombucha, kefir, miso, tempeh, what else, soy, or like probiotic yogurt, live yogurt.
Cultured yogurt, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference towards a particular type of yogurt, whether it be dairy, soy? I don't want to mention any more. The fact is, what one do you lean towards for your own choice?
It kind of varies. Like
Coconut.
Glenillan or Glenis could be my choice of dairy ones. Really nice Irish brands, but yeah, I tend to avoid dairy a bit myself, just because I did like a genetic test that shows that I have like a SNP that makes it hard for me to digest lactose or whatever. So I was like, grand, yeah, that makes sense. But I still might have some if I was to, would be some of those. But yeah, coconut yogurt I like, or soya. The odd time you're mad for soya.
Well, it's just that again, I'm similar to you. I don't tolerate a lot of dairy in my diet.
Yeah.
And I even got asked in a health food shop today when I was buying those soy yogurts, and I bought some other plant-based items, and it was the fact that at the cashier I was asked, "Oh, are you plant-based?" And the fact is that I suppose again people want to put people in categories, whether it be plant-based or whatever. The fact is that I'm not a vegan, I'm not vegetarian. I eat whole foods. My preference would be people to eat the gold standard, eat organic produce. Why? Because it doesn't contain harsh chemicals, and the fact that at actually the shop they don't sell meat products. So then I was like, if there was maybe something organic here, I would have bought that, but there wasn't on offer. I eat eggs because that would be definitely my preferred protein source, and it's probably you actually physically could live on that because it would have healthy fats and protein, but I won't lean towards them the keto diet.
And so when you're there in the shop and like they don't have organic meat, but they've ordinary meat, you'll just get something else.
Yeah, or go to the next shop where, or
you can get the organic.
Yeah, that would be,
especially in a fat source like meat, you know, because that really is going to hold on to the toxins.
and then I often get asked then, with Coleman, organic meat is expensive. It certainly is expensive because there's a lot more time needed and the likes of expenses that are put into it. Because the difference is it doesn't contain the likes of antibiotics because that's not allowed. The fact is the animal is grazed on grass, pasture raised, which means it contains higher nutritional omega-3. That's been scientifically proven. But then there's also studies to say that it's not. So then it's like, oh, fine, that's fine. But the thing is, it doesn't contain or allow animals to graze on sprayed land. So the animals, whether it be chickens, whether it be cows or goats, depending on the product that you're consuming, they do not feed off land that has been sprayed with glyphosate. And glyphosate is an antibiotic. Okay, first it's a carcinogenic, but it's an hormone disruptor. And you are what you eat, and then whether it be the likes of the plants or the veg.
Like the idea that it's more expensive is kind of like you have to think about what the benefit you're getting from it.
It's the value.
The thing is, like, we eat too much meat anyway, like the general population. So like an organic chicken for one, certainly, oh my God, it goes like 3 times further than a normal chicken. Like the amount of meat you get off it. And then, you know, it's great to boil it up for the chicken stock or whatever. And then even all the brown meat, you know, the the smaller bits of meat that you're not using or whatever, when you just do your roast chicken, like you can literally get like 4 meals out of it and the chicken stock, and like when it's an organic one, so sure, that makes total financial sense. And then the likes of an organic steak or something, like if you chop that up thin and have it in a dish like you had there with all that veg, like
Mix it with veg. Yeah, that's the
half
thing.
it would
Totally.
be a full meal. Do you know what I mean? So it's just
It's not about eating, we call it less food. It's about eating more of the right type of foods in abundance. And even the fact that, would you be one to recommend, I suppose, the 80-20 rule, or what would be your preference towards that?
explain that, Martin.
As the fact that 80% of the time you're eating whole foods, and then 20% of the time that you're having.
You see, like I was only saying this to someone yesterday, you just need to center, if you can just get it clear in your head, like the pool of foods that you're choosing from. It's like about getting rid of that idea of that you're being restricted, like, because people have real negative connotations sometimes with healthy eating, and it's so restrictive, and it means I can't have that and whatever. But it's not about that at all. It's like, if you have a clear idea of what the good foods are, which is literally like meat, fish, eggs, nuts, seeds, beans, lentils, like veg, fruit, like so much, that there's like endless, really enjoyable, tasty possibilities to make out of that group of foods. So I don't know, I'd go so far as like, you don't even need, you can do it 100% of the time, but like to make it realistic for someone. And we were saying there's always going to be some occasion or something where you go where the healthy option isn't going to be available.
Yeah, and as long as you're doing the majority of the time, eating healthy foods as best you can. And I'm actually, even without mentioning names, training an individual, and it's the fact that they're living still with their family members and their mother and father, and they're just kind of being a bit reluctant to say, oh, come, I know you're recommending me this food, but my parents are eating this. And I was going, but you won't. But I put the point across that you're not always going to live at home. And that's where you need to take control, because you can either continue to eat the foods that they're eating and feel and look the way certainly you do at this moment in time, or you can change what you're doing. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting.
Yeah.
And this individual is still, was previously bloated, low energy levels, and they didn't have the physique that they currently wanted because the foods weren't matching their activity levels. And that's important, not to be then going, oh, well, they're eating that food. That's fine if you want to continue the way you have been previously living, but you need to focus in on what works for you. If something that I would recommend towards less red meat would be fish, easy to digest, has less fats in it as well. And as a result of that, then adding in more plant-based meals. And I'm coming from a big GA background, and steak, chicken, bacon and cabbage being thrown out on the table, I mean, weekly, like without a shadow of a doubt.
That is a big stumbling block for people as well. Yes. I think you just have to like be like, well, this is right for me. I'm not going to apologize for it, kind of, and like where possible, just do what you need to do for you. But what did you say there? About the 80-20. That it is a good approach. And it's realistic, I think, to allow for like real life and that, and the nights where there's going to be like a few drinks and whatever. But I'd always be for like saying to people, you can have treats, you can have like lovely, like cakes and snacks and everything. But
what about those chocolates? Things we had lunch there. Beautiful.
So like from a pool of like
dark chocolate, organic as well, high in magnesium.
Organic dark chocolate, nuts, seeds, say berries. There's like 5 really nice kind of treats and dessert. Like the thing I gave you was, what was that? Dark chocolate melted, mixed with coconut and nuts and seeds and blueberries, and then you just reset it and break it up like a bar. But you can just get like a plate of berries, melt dark chocolate in a bowl, and then you just dip the fruit in. Like
mouth-watering stuff.
It's so nice. Or a chocolate cake, but it's made like with ground almonds. So all that's in it is like ground almonds, organic dark chocolate, eggs, and a bit of real butter, and like the smallest amount of sugar to sweeten it or whatever. But sure, like that's all good stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's just trying to show people you can, like any of your old favorites, if you want to call them that, can be adapted into totally healthy meal. People, I'd always show people an image of a plate, which is like half a plate of veg, quarter plate protein, quarter plate of like starchier carbs. And then I'd be saying to you had this idea when you're growing up of like a spaghetti bolognese, and the whole plate is spaghetti. And then there's like the meat in the middle. well, it's like grand, have the spaghetti bolognese, but it's like a quarter plate spaghetti, a quarter plate of meat, and half a plate of veg, you know. So just really, I'd always just say to people, literally, if all you did was go away today and eat double the veg you're eating, you'd be flying. Like, you'll feel the benefit within a week.
Totally. Between fiber, between antioxidants, between more vitamins and minerals, you're going to increase your energy levels and much more ready to reach your fitness goals.
Yeah.
I can't believe we literally have talked for half an hour flat to the mat. Well, at the
It's
start of
just
this,
people so underestimate what's in food. Like, you know, it's just not like talked about. But when you break it down into the micronutrients, you know, like vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and amino acids. Like the amino acids, all those things like are the building blocks of various things in the body, like your hormones, neurotransmitters, you know. So like it's totally affecting all parts of your body, but your mental health as well. If you're deficient in some of these things, you know, it has major effects.
just the whole realization that good food equals good mood, and that's down to your gut health. And we did talk about a lot about that on this week's podcast. I'm going to wrap it up there. Kara, thanks for coming on, but I want you to tell the listeners where's the best place for them to reach you. Social media platforms.
Yeah, on everything, sure. Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn under East Cork Nutrition. So just feel free to message away about anything.
Well, that was great to have you on for this round 2, as they say. There might even be a round 3. And stay tuned for more from Kara O Donnell. And I'll be tagging up all her handles on social medias in the show notes. So stay tuned for that. And I always finish off these episodes by saying, stay tuned, stay classy, and keep it organic.